Tonight, Port Augusta business owners fuming over plans for a new cabin park, and Broken Hill gets online, launching free Wi-Fi hotspots across its city centre.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. Business owners say they're concerned about a new cabin park development that's been given the green light for Port Augusta. While some are welcoming the new park, others are worried it'll affect their trade.
The $10 million Bentley's cabin park development announced last month has been hailed a tourism and jobs boost for Port Augusta. But even before construction, it's been met with a backlash from local competitors.
It's definitely going to be a concern. Yeah, it will affect us, I'm sure it will. I don't think, I hope it's not going to be too grey.
Many accommodation providers believe with an additional 105 beds to be made available to consumers late next year, they'll feel the pinch.
It's got to affect some. It doesn't matter if it's only one. It ends up being $30,000, $40,000 that goes off your mark, and you can't do up a room, or you can't employ another cleaner.
Many other providers Southern Cross News has spoken to today say they have these same concerns, that there just won't be enough business to go around. Yet others say they'll be welcoming the development with open arms and that it's a sign of a healthy, growing town.
We welcome competition. Competition is good. It always raises the bar. The concern is there need for another accommodation place in Port Augusta?
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
A woman remains in hospital in a serious condition after a crash in Broken Hill. Crews were called to the William Street smash between the woman's car and a truck around 1:30 yesterday afternoon. The 59-year-old was trapped inside her car for 40 minutes before she was able to be freed. The driver of the truck was treated for minor injuries.
As we head towards Christmas New Year period, it's very important to pay attention on the roads, and the key things, alcohol, speeding and lack of seatbelts and distraction are key factors in collisions.
Police have launched an investigation into the crash. A 17-year-old boy from Whyalla has been caught allegedly doing burnouts. Just before 10 on Tuesday night, police spotted the teen driving recklessly in his car around the Whyalla foreshore area. Police allege he was also driving without lights. The boy has been reported and will face court at a later date. He's also had his car impounded for 28 days. Port Pirie police are hunting an arsonist after 2 rubbish fires in Risdon Park South. Fire crews were called out to 2 separate fires in Hackett and Jenkins Streets just before 11 o'clock last night, where they extinguished 2 rubbish bins. Only minor damage was caused, but witnesses claim they saw a group of boys flee the area on bicycles around the same time as the incidents. Anyone with information is urged to come forward. Farmers on the Eyre Peninsula are nearing the end of harvest, with most due to finish well before Christmas. Viterra has received over 1 million tonnes of grain, making the season a resounding success after a very dry start.
When the rain failed to pour in April, farmers waited anxiously, hoping it wouldn't affect their season. Relief was felt this week as growers delivered grain on time and on yield.
From where we expected the tonnes to be coming into the system at the start of the season to where it is now, largely we've been pleasantly surprised, and certainly that's the feedback we've been getting from growers.
1.2 million tonnes has been delivered, with farmers reaching 80% of their harvest. It's a similar story across the state. A total of 4.2 million tonnes has been recorded so far statewide.
The yields have been above probably expectations.
The cooler finish in October and November has helped the grain reach full potential. State-of-the-art equipment also played a major part.
It's a combination of farming practices and the technology that growers are using.
Although growers have finished their season, the journey for the grain has just begun, with most of it shipped around the world.
China is one of our biggest markets, but also into the Middle East.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
After the break, free Wi-Fi switched on around Broken Hill. The details next. The electorate of Grey could extend into the Clare Valley if a proposal by the Liberal Party is approved. Rowan Ramsey says while the division is already large enough for one MP, acquiring the famous wine region makes the most sense.
Grey already covers 92% of South Australia, but it's set to get larger. A drop in the state's population means SA will lose a seat in the lower house, forcing divisions to get bigger.
Already an enormous task, and it's going to get just a bit more difficult for whoever is the member for Grey. But it is what it is.
And if he has his way, they'll be heading into the Clare Valley. In a submission to the Electoral Commission, he's calling for the region along with the rest of Wakefield Council to be moved from Wakefield into Grey.
Yeah, I drive through it to get to places like Burra and Udunda. So that seems to be a fairly obvious add-on, as does the rest of Wakefield Council, because we've already got the top 20%.
The move would add the wine industry to the list of varying industries that range from agriculture to mining.
Constant task for the member of Grey to be across all of those industries in enough detail to be able to understand.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Broken Hill is one step closer to becoming a smart city after the launch of free Wi-Fi across town. The project is a joint venture between City Council and Telstra as part of a framework to make the city more tech-savvy.
Turn on and connect.
Argent Street, Patton Street and the airport were essentially the big areas.
The $100,000 project is part of the Smart Cities framework, which Council has adopted and is putting into practice. The 3 free Wi-Fi hotspots are one of a number of projects already being undertaken, including smart parking enforcement and live-streamed council meetings. Smart airport parking will start construction on Friday.
We're looking at some options for smart lighting and smart CCTV in Sturt Park and Patton Park, and we're also looking at opportunities to put sensors in bins, so smart bins up and down the main street that'll actually tell our operators whether they need to be emptied or not.
It's very easy to get onto the network. Simply open your phone settings and find the Broken Hill Smart Wi-Fi network. The service sports fast speeds up to 100 megabits at its strongest signal.
We've got some really exciting projects on the go and we're really looking forward to rolling those out over the next 12 months.
The service will be officially launched on Saturday morning. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Southern Cross News has been given a behind-the-scenes tour of Port Lincoln's new RSPCA shelter ahead of its official opening this weekend. The association is hoping the new premises will put to bed many issues which troubled the former site.
It's been a long time in the making, and now animals in Port Lincoln have a new home.
Gives these animals a bit of a second chance just to make sure that they get the best go at life that they deserve.
The RSPCA will open their new shelter on Saturday, housing brand new facilities for animals of all shapes and sizes.
We have between 400 and 500 animals come through the Port Lincoln shelter every year.
Cats will now have state-of-the-art living quarters, allowing carers to better nurse them back to full health.
They go straight into the isolation room. And they'll spend varying amounts of time in there depending on whether they are sick or injured.
While dogs will need to be patient as the RSPCA coordinates with council to avoid noise issues that plagued their former kennel.
We want to make sure that it is going to suit our requirements but also sort of not impact on the community or anything like that as well.
These cute kittens are now available for adoption and make the perfect addition to any family.
They all do get adopted eventually.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
After the break, we look back at the year that was in Port Pirie with Mayor John Rohde. That's next. New figures have revealed nearly 20,000 tourists who visited the Peninsula were from overseas. Nearly 500,000 foreign tourists paid SA a visit over the past year, but it seems Whyalla is missing out.
For years, locals have been saying the EP is a must-see destination, and now the figures are starting to show it. 19,000 international visitors set foot in the region, and it seems every business is reaping the benefits.
Newsagents, whether it's the local pharmacy, whether it's... and you can go on and on. The petrol station and so forth.
The boom is being put down to Chinese tourists, but it's a mixed bag in Whyalla, with visitor numbers up 16%, but international visits remain quiet. A direct flight to Port Lincoln is being blamed for that, but council is working on a solution.
Just need them to kind of venture out a little bit more, and it's about our marketing, I think, for that. So we'll be working on that in the new year and the years to come.
Those who do venture to Whyalla are flocking from Europe, with Germany and the United Kingdom topping the list.
loving our coastline, they're loving our scenery, they're loving the environment that we have.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Time now to see what's biting around the Gulf. Here's fishing tips.
Welcome to another week around the Gulf fishing tips from Port Pirie. Fantastic report on the blue swimmer crabs. Now, there's a lot of guys thinking they're getting a little bit hit and miss, but you do need to be in the deeper water to pick up your best feed, so try that while you're there. Yellowfin whiting are starting to come back, particularly after this hot surge. We'll see them on the early morning tide, so do work a little bit harder for those. Plenty of tommies to be had, so burley up and try your luck for those guys, and they're just over the sprat size, so plenty of good thing for smoking over the Christmas period.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Well, the weather's up and down and so is the fishing green at the moment. Crabs are there, there's a few small ones in amongst them and just starting to get a couple of soft ones too, so just pick through those. Lots of silver whiting, particularly down along the shacks area, and also down on the banks near Chinaman's Creek. There's been some good catches down there. The snapper ban will be off soon, so check the dates on that one there and try and get a nice pan-sized snapper for Christmas lunch.
Hi, Whyallah's fishing report this week. The annual snapper closure finishes tomorrow at lunchtime at midday, so I'm sure all the snapper drops would be holding a few fish. They've all had a good rest over the last 6 weeks, so now's the time to get out and have a look at some snapper for Christmas. For the land-based anglers, there's been some really good tommies and garfish over around the Point Lowly Bays. There's also still been a few good schools of salmon around the area. Down towards the local foreshore, there's been some nice silver whiting coming in out front of the caravan park, and a few crabs are starting to show up in the shallows as well.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, tuna have been the big news this week. There's been quite a few fish caught out wide, especially over the Coffin Bay side. There's also been a few tuna caught down south of Port Lincoln. The Cabbage Patch and South Neptunes have had some fish, but they haven't been as reliable as the Coffin Bay side at the moment. Back inside the bay at Port Lincoln, squid continue to go well, especially along the North Shore, from Lyons Park up towards North Shields. There's been some good-sized garfish out around the farm beach grounds, and some nice-sized salmon trout out there as well. Down on the south coast of Port Lincoln, there's been some schools of salmon patrolling the area, but they have been hanging out wide and not moving in. Well, that's all for fishing tips this week and this year, and we wish you all the best if you're heading out fishing over the summer period. We'll see you again in 2018 with more fishing tips.
Well, it's been a year of change in Port Pirie with new multi-million-dollar developments and redevelopments. With 2018 fast approaching, Rachel Nell sat down with Mayor John Rohde for tonight's Year in Review.
So, Mayor John Rohde, thank you for speaking with me today. And as 2017 comes to an end, how would you sum up the year for Port Pirie and the surrounding areas?
Look, I think 2017 has been a great year of development for Port Pirie and the region as a whole.
So this year we saw Port Pirie CBD rejuvenated, and why was that so important for the community?
The CBD was tired. It was very tired. And the fact that now we've upgraded some of the streets as part of an ongoing process shows that the CBD can come alive again and be a hub for people to be attracted to. And it was a very important project in that respect. It's gained a lot of notoriety across South Australia.
Work on Port Pirie's multi-million-dollar sports precinct is well underway, so what can locals expect once it's finally opened?
Key sporting hub for Port Pirie. Will have very much improved facilities, access to sports, better lighting, sports there including baseball, soccer will come into the main part of the city. But also across the road at the Aquatic Centre, we'll have an indoor facility that will have year-round use. So Learn to Swim will be available for our young people.
And Port Pirie will finally play host to the 2019 Masters Games after a 7-year break. How does Council feel to have the Games back here?
We're thrilled to bits to have the Games back in Port Pirie. What Port Pirie always provided with the Masters Games was a very integrated, committed community to provide the facilities and the support through volunteers that really made a difference to the success of the Masters Games.
And I think it's the question on everyone's mind, can we expect Audi to open in 2018?
Look, the process is ongoing, and certainly Audi has shown that they're still committed to Port Pirie. They're obviously working through a few things with the developer, which has taken a little bit more time, but we are very, very sure that Audi is still committed to Port Pirie, and it looks like 2018 is going to be the year.
But it hasn't been all positive news for the town this year. The lead levels in children have increased. How will New Star's transformation help combat this issue?
Yes, maybe lead levels have been up a little bit. With the transformation in place, what that'll do will significantly cut that emission out of the plant down the road here in Port Pirie, which is going to have a very, very sound outcome for children in Port Pirie.
2017 has been a year of change for Port Pirie, probably one of the biggest in years in terms of infrastructure upgrades and new developments. So what's next for 2018?
We're not dropping the ball. We're still going on and trying to succeed in improving the city even more. We've got stage 2 of the CBD upgrade on the books. We come see change process. We're doing a lot in terms of infrastructure, but also the mindset of Port Pirians and the regional area around us as well. We've been very keen to make sure that we have a positive future, and it means that we need to work on not only infrastructure and all those other things, but making sure that the positive message gets out there that Port Pirie is going ahead.
And thanks for your time today, Mayor John Rohde.
Thank you.
Stay with us after the break. Abby has the weather, and Abby, some much cooler temps around centres today.
Yes, that's right, Fraser, but the cool change won't hang around for long. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. Taking a look at the weather now. After some scorching temps this week, it was a lovely summer's day for all centres. 28 the top for Port Augusta, sunny and slightly cooler in Whyalla and Port Lincoln with temps in the mid-20s. And it was cloudy and warm in Broken Hill, 33 the top. And a fine day for Port Pirie, 27 the top there. On the satellite, thick clouds stretching from northwest and South Australia to the southeast with a deep trough is generating some showers and storms. Low cloud building over the southwest as a cold front approaches is staying mostly dry. Taking a look at the waters for your Friday, south-southwesterly winds up to 20 knots, seas up to 2 metres with a south-southwesterly swell, and sunrise is just after 6 a.m. Temps will warm up slightly and we'll see some beautiful sunshine around tomorrow. Port Augusta heading for a top of 31 degrees. Temps to reach the mid-20s in Whyalla and Port Lincoln. A cool 21 in Coffin Bay, and Broken Hill's in for a scorcher, 36 the top there. Looking ahead, this mild weather will only last a little while. Port Lincoln will climb back into the 30s on Sunday, and we could see some summer storms by Monday. Temps will rise quickly in Cleve, and those in Woodnar will want to make sure their aircons are working because they're heading for a top of 40 degrees to end the week. A similar story further up the Gulf. Whyalla will warm up to a very hot Sunday and Monday with temps in the high 30s. Port Augusta is set to sizzle with a 43-degree start to the working week, and a hot one in Kadina with temps creeping up to the high 30s by Monday. And lastly, in Port Pirie, temps will climb to a cloudy 41-degree day on Monday and say goodbye to the cooler weather in Clare. And Broken Hill is set to swelter on Monday, heading for a top of 44 degrees. So, Fraser, let's enjoy this brief spell of cooler temps while we can, because it's going to be a very hot start to next week.
Thanks, Abby. And that's the news to now. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with some lights from around Port Pirie. Good night.